so if you're not like selling drug to a pregnant person, it's still bad because because it's the fact that you sell drugs in general.
Why is selling? Well, that's a little like iffy because some people could argue that drugs aren't necessarily a bad thing if used properly. Obviously, if you're gonna, there's people that can handle drugs. Things like, let's take it to weed, for example, which is used for medicinal purposes. Say you're a drug dealer that is giving weed to people who need it for medical purposes, but can't exactly get it because of some other situation, or they can't get a card or whatever. And so you're dealing this drugs to these people that need it. And there's a pregnant person that says they need it, and you're like, I'm not going to give this to you. Because you're pregnant, they're misusing it. You can make the argument. It's kind of like, yeah. That's what I have to. I have to plug in my Chromebook. Hold on.
I think like dealing only like weed is. I think it's not a crime.
Dealing anything isn't a crime, okay? What I define as crime is probably different from what you define as crime, because I define criminality as a violation of natural law or natural ethics rather than what the Monopoly on Force says it is. For example, if I hold a gun to your head and say, you can't breathe, and then you breathe, you aren't committing a crime. You're just... you're being forced to obey.
I think crime is generally defined by the state or the federal.
I know, but it's
local authorities.
I'm aware, but there's also crime in the ethical sense, which is how I describe it. I just think it's silly to say that whoever has the biggest gun defines what is criminal and what is law.
Like it differs when you have a rifle and when you have a like a little gun.
Yeah, it's more like 40,000 tons of military equipment versus like a couple people with like handguns and shit. But
maybe those people are like are like the smartest people in the world, so they like dodge all the bullets and rockets.
And what I was talking about.
Yeah. So, like, what, like, this is do atheists have a moral grounding? And we are talking about crimes.
Well, yeah. Well, morality and crime and morality is a kind of go hand in hand, because what people define as criminal is what they're usually referring to is what they define as morally wrong. For example, people say that killing is a crime not because they're referring to the government says you can't, but because they're referring to it's ethically the wrong thing to do. You can't do that. And they kind of see the government as a moral actor rather than a and that's why I think criminality is referring to morality.
What about if the person you killed one of the members of your family?
Well, that's kind of gets into a different. I think that if you catch them in the act of, like, if you just saw them killing your family, you have the right to take matters into your own hands and shoot them. Obviously. But if they killed them and you have reason to believe, but I think you would have to. Technically, I don't think it's wrong to if you know if they did kill someone, it is not wrong to kill them back, but practically, I think you would have to go for a judiciary process, and I think it would be the moral thing to do, or the best thing to do, to put them into a prison rather than a than just going on and killing them all. But I think you can kill them, but I don't think that's.
I think it really does depend on the context. Yeah, if you spot this person like sitting at a bus stop, and you know that they killed a member of your family, no, you can't just kill them. That is still murder. And
the difference is, if you know they killed, philosophically, it wouldn't be wrong to. I guess actually it would, because the gentleness principle. Yeah, no, never mind. It would. I concede to that.
Hey, give me a sec.
Yeah.
My axis. Is there anything you want to say?
I just wanted to ask if someone killed one of your family members in self-defense, do you still think you have the right to kill them?
No, absolutely not.
Well, if you can't know if they're lying about killing them by.
Well, that's what courts are for.
Yeah, and you can't make the assumption that they were lying to justify murdering them.
Yeah, exactly. So, if we're talking purely on the theoretical, philosophical level, if someone kills your family member in self-defense, and let's just say that they did actually do that, then no, it is not okay to kill the person that killed your family member, because your family member revoked their rights the moment they decided to violate that other person's, and therefore, killing them in self-defense was a okay thing to do.
Hey guys, I have to go. I'll be back in 15 minutes. You guys keep talking, okay? I'll be back.
I have to use the bathroom. I'll be back in like 3 minutes.
Yeah, that's fine. 15 minutes, I'll be back, okay? Thank you guys. Keep going.
Okay.
All right.
So my opinion is like, when someone kills your family member, and just know, but you didn't see them. It's you just like super know that they are they even and only they killed your family member. So you actually have to kill their family member too, because isn't that morally right?
No. How would that be morally right to murder somebody else, especially somebody who wasn't even involved, just because they're related to somebody who killed your family member?
Well, the family member wasn't involved too. So, well, it's kind of a good. It's kind of a like.
No, okay. So like Bobby kills my brother, and I know Bobby's sister Janie, and I kill Janie because that's justice. What?
Well,
I'm back.
Welcome back.
So, yeah. So, what do you think about killing the person? Like, not killing the person who killed your family member, but killing the family member of the person who killed your family member.
No.
Yeah, no, that's morally appalling.
Yeah, what?
But your family member wasn't involved too.
Killing their family member isn't going to bring my family member back.
Yeah, but it's a lose-lose.
Okay.
No.
I think people are thinking like this in like criminal gangs and stuff, But I don't think it's morally right.
No, I see no moral justification for that.
It's more like satisfying your own need for revenge or something, but it's not moral.
Becoming a monster to avenge what a monster did to your family. No, that's not good. It's not psychologically good for you to commit murder. you're not helping yourself in any way.
Well, if sometime I will have to, I'm likely more to have revenge than to like have to accept the fact. Because it's so hard. Yeah, it's not like your family member just dying. Like the family member was killed.
Yeah.
Imagine the difference.
Yeah. Usually,
but then how does that justify you? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, continue. Okay. I just wanted to say that in cases where this happens, let's say two families are involved, one member of a family kills another member of the family, it's often considered a huge tragedy for both families. So that they don't feel like they should take revenge on the older family.
And then if you retaliate by killing a family member of the person who killed like yours, then somebody from their side is going to kill another one of your family. It's like creating this Capulets and Montagues situation, like a war. That's just not going to solve anything.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move to the next topic. It's gotten really deep.
Okay.
Take it.
Well, what about suicide?
What about suicide?
Yeah.
What about suicide?
Yeah, is it like more? Yeah, is it morally right to commit a suicide?
It's not morally wrong because or ethically wrong because you own your body. So I think you're able to do whatever you want to your own body. And obviously no one else is involved in this killing yourself. So you're not harming anyone else's property, only your own. So killing yourself is fine.
Certainly.
I used to think that way, but I no longer think that way after someone I know did it. I came to the conclusion that someone who does that is not of sound mind and not capable of making that decision. And
well, I think autonomy of the body extends to the mentally ill, so...
And now somebody's got to clean up the body, so you've inflicted that psychological wound on them.
Well, it's not the psychological wound, it's that you're physically damaging their property. Like, technically, yeah, how you would handle this is if someone jumps off of a building and lands on the front of your, right in front of your building, you basically violated their property rights by putting your guts all over. You basically vandalized their property by doing so. So what would happen is when all your like stuff is being distributed to your family members and stuff, there would actually be a portion of that money cut out and given to that person to pay for the damage that you caused.
Yeah, family gets less money.
What about the damage you caused to your family by committing suicide?
Well, there's an argument that it is, ethically, I think it's okay to do. Morally, there's an argument that you are doing something wrong because you are, obviously you're harming your family by doing that. But what if you have no family left, no friends left, and that's why you did it?
That's not a good reason. You could have friends later.
That doesn't. No.
I'm in the middle of a sentence. I don't appreciate you interrupting every time I speak. Okay, so when somebody is in that situation, they are not mentally sound and should not be doing that, with the exception of a euthanasia-like situation. If doctors can concur that it's okay to be taken off life support or something like that when it's the end and there's no hope. But other than that, someone's not mentally stable, they should be given help.
Okay, yeah, but here's the thing. Do you think just because someone has a mental illness, they have no right to agree to anything? Does that mean they can't agree to buy anything? They can't agree to make transactions or anything like that? Do they lose the ability to do that just because they're mentally ill? Or what's going on here?
I think if they're in a state...
It depends on their level of mental illness. There are like contract laws that where you have to be in your right mind to sign a contract. And so it would depend on individual circumstances and the level of mentality that they have.
Well, here's the thing. Most people that kill themselves aren't severely, like, mentally deranged. They usually just have some kind of depression or anxiety, and that's what leads them to committing suicide. And depression and anxiety doesn't derange you. What it does, it makes you feel like that's the way out or the escape. So it's not a matter of being mentally unable to make a decision. You just don't feel like there's another way, and it's an irrational decision. But humans make irrational decisions all the time. So restricting them from this one just because they're doing it to themselves as they're dying is, people accidentally kill themselves because they make stupid decisions. Tons. People overdose on opioids on accident. It just happens.
So don't give them help, you're saying?
No. If they seek help themselves, then I think that's what you should do. But
no, they're not mentally aware enough to seek help. They don't want help. They're not in sound mind. They need they need to be helped.
So let's say if you're depressed, I think a lot of people have thoughts like, I don't deserve to be helped, So it's like part of the mental condition.
Yeah, then they should still be helped.
And so
I know. So I'm just saying it's like part of the symptom. I'm agreeing with you here, strong atheist.
Usually what happens is it's important for people to reach out. All it takes is usually someone to reach out to them, not to it's not right to force them, because forcing people to do things is wrong. I don't think you should force people into help if they don't agree to it, because that's just not cool.
I think of it like stopping somebody from killing themselves is kind of like an intervention for somebody who's addicted to substances.
You can, like, if someone's about to shoot themselves, I think it is okay to, like, say stop or like but usually, okay, the thing is here, if you physically restrain them technically you are doing something wrong because they didn't. But if they don't try to go against you or press charges or do anything like that, which is usually what happens, they're probably not going to charge you for it. But technically, since they didn't consent to the physical restraint first, it's not okay. It's a bit of an iffy thing.
And we agreed.
It's not an iffy thing. I don't know if you understand. Like, when somebody's hurts themselves or others, that's when they usually get committed to a place. Or if they're in danger of hurting themselves or others. And what they do is they'll take away all their sharp items and things like that, and the things that they could tie around their necks and things like that, and give them therapy. And
I've been to a mental facility before.
Okay, and you should know and want to help these people, don't you?
Here's the thing. I don't think it's okay to force them to go there. That is wrong.
I'm glad I'm not one of your relatives that has troubles like that.
I went there because I agreed to go there, and that's how it should happen. You shouldn't force people to help. I think you're basing your morality off of your emotions and not off of rationality.
I think the opposite. I think you're basing yours on lack of emotion. You don't have any compassion for people. You can't see that. You think that everyone can decide for themselves, and they're sane mind enough to make the decision to kill themselves. Just the fact that they want to kill themselves, unless it's a euthanasia situation, means that they're needing help.
Here's the thing. These people, all right, should have the ability to make whatever decisions they want. It's their body. If someone chooses to do heroin, they chose to do so. It doesn't matter if they were in a situation that made them, that kind of forced them into it. They still made the decision to do so. And we're all self-owners. We own ourselves. No one else owns us. Therefore, we have complete autonomy over our body. And that means that we have the ability to do what we want to ourselves. Now, there's an argument to be made that it is not okay to kill yourself, but the thing remains that you can. It is wrong to force people to do things because you don't own that person. That person owns themselves. So forcing them into a situation that they did not agree to is not okay.
Could we agree that somebody about to kill themselves is experiencing a severe emotional crisis or mental health crisis?
Yeah.
And so in that moment of crisis, could we agree that they are not in a position to where they can govern themselves to make a decision?
No, I wouldn't agree. I think, but here's the thing. There's
never, or just not usually.
I just mean at that moment.
Well, no, I think because there's mentally retarded people, that's kind of can't really, they aren't on the same like mental plane as the majority of people, but I think they still have the ability to govern themselves. Yeah.
Oh yeah, but I'm not talking about.
Well, here's the thing. Like, I'm talking about severely mentally retarded people, and then here's the thing: severely mentally deranged people also have the ability to govern themselves. So, I think autonomy of the body extends to the mentally ill and, mentally retarded.
I think it's kind of case by case basis depending on their ability to actually successfully take care of themselves. And if they are expressing patterns of behavior that lean towards self-harm, there's a responsibility to help protect them from themselves.
That's positive, right? I don't believe in positive rights, or positive morality, so no, I don't think we have any moral obligation to do anything for anyone else.
You're very cold. Very cold.
I'm not cold. I derive my morality from
very cold person. I don't think you. I'll tell you what, Lilith. I don't think you have much morality. I heard it like last week in voice chat saying like Muslims and Jews and some other group should be eliminated, and like I don't think you have much, if any, morality at all.
Yeah,
wait.
Okay, did she actually say that, Shroda?
Yes, she did. Yes, she did.
And I wasn't
sure. And I wasn't sure of what the regulations
Let me explain the context.
And I found out later that I should have probably kicked her, and I really didn't know that at the time.
All right, he's trying to push this on me because he's getting a little angry that I have a different moral stance than him. So let me explain the context.
Wait, everyone stop. Wait. All right, Lilith. Can you just please explain what you meant by what you said, please?
Yeah, sure. By eliminate, I think that these religions are, harmful, and they shouldn't have influence on, the modern world. By eliminated, I don't mean I don't believe in killing people. I think you can determine by my arguments in this little stage right here that I don't believe we should kill people. So no, I don't think it means, it doesn't mean kill them. It means I think the ideas should be eliminated.
Didn't phrase it that way. You didn't say the ideas when you said it.
Okay, yeah, but I was talking after that and I explained myself. So I don't know what you're even talking about. I think you're pulling something out right now just so you can try to get me removed because you think I'm this cold person.
Oh, no. Listen, if you don't deserve to be removed, then I don't care. I'm just bringing up what happened, and we're speaking about morals, and that's why I brought it up.
Okay, well, no, I don't believe in killing people, so, Frank, by eliminated, I don't mean, genocide, if that's what you're thinking.
Okay. That's all I needed. Because I really wasn't going to wait, give me a second, Kitty. I wasn't gonna leave you up here if that was the case. So, but go ahead.
Okay, well, actually, genocide will be right in only one case, like in a dictatorship.
No, okay, remove him.
Why?
Remove. Get rid of him.
Let me do my opinion. So imagine being North Korean, and it's. Do you agree with me that it is hell to live in North Korea?
Yeah,
Like
Wait,
literally.
that is
Kitty,
the
are you
fault
saying
of
those people should not be alive anymore? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying that if the dictatorship gets so far, like in 1984, it's like the I think like okay, let me explain. Like the government of the 1984, like the Oceania country,
Stock.
eliminating the government of like Oceania, which is huge, will be technically a genocide, but it'll be a right
No.
thing because they control like billions of people, and make their life like they make them suffer.
QD, it wouldn't be a genocide if you just eliminate the government. A genocide would be a
Right.
mass extermination of a certain group of people. So eliminating a government wouldn't be a genocide. That would just be a coup
Overthrowing a
or a
government.
revolution.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Imagine how big the government of the a country that contains
But
it's
it's not a targeting of
it's
a
like
group.
a million
It's
people.
the overthrowing of a government. And oh shit. It wouldn't be a genocide. No, genociding would be going there and eliminating all the people of Oceania that you see, because the Oceanians need to be eliminated from this planet because they're a parasite or a filth. That would be genocide. If you go and
strictly speaking, oh sorry,
fine, go ahead.
I was going to say, strictly speaking, in a dictatorship, all the power is usually concentrated in a small handful of people. Eliminating everybody who works in the government is a little like there are janitors who are just, they're just sweeping floors in the government building. That's just a job.
Yeah, it's not. It's kind of.
There are no. The problem is that there are no like janitors in 1984 book at all.
Yeah, but I'm just talking about in a
Well,
general
there was
dictatorship.
probably janitors.
Yeah.
Who cleaned
the same thing.
like there was.
Like
For example,
imagine,
this actually brings to an argument that people have all the time. Like, was it wrong for the rebels to blow up the Death Star because while it was still being built? Because there was probably like innocent people like building it and like private contractors and stuff.
Right.
So yeah, and so like that's an actual argument that people have. So I think that's funny.
yeah, okay.
Like, think about it for a moment. All right, the Death Star was being built, right? So that they didn't do it. The Empire didn't do that on their own. So obviously they hired like private contractors and things like that, and builders and companies to do that for them that had no involvement for it. So and the rebels blew it up. So would it be a moral wrong to blow it up because you harm those innocent people?
They all supported the building of the Death Star, so yes.
And the Death Star orphans and widows.
Actually, though, yeah. See, maybe the rebels aren't the good guys.
Okay, so so imagine like the Oceania government. It's gotta be big because did you read the book? Just how great the government control is. It's so like Big Brother is like probably 100,000 people.
Actually, no. Big Brother is described as one person that controls the whole government. So,
Yeah.
So
It's
actually,
described.
to crumble the government, I don't think you would be destroying literally every single person within the whole government structure. I think you would be like, clipping off the few people at the top. So,
Be like carpet bombing a city to take out one guy.
That would be not really okay.
Yeah, no.
Okay, so there was one guy who called his name was Guy Fawkes. He tried to blow up the London Parliament, but he didn't succeed.
Mm.
So London Parliament then contained like religious leaders and some like things like dictatorships, and also like Parliament was blown by the guy who like V Vendetta. Did you watch V for Vendetta?
I love V for Vendetta. Actually, I read the comic, but
Yeah. So is it like, was it right to blow the Parliament?
Well, I can't recall because it was a long time. Was there only government officials in the building, or was there civilians as well?
It's so well built that I'm sure that there were no civilians in there.
All right, so there was only government officials. If there's only government officials, then I think it's fine to.
Don't government officials usually have assistants and like clerk, like people who do the clerk?
I guess so. Yeah, but look. The point is, I don't think it's wrong to kill. Oh shit. I don't want the fuck. That's like some Fed shit. That's some Fed shit. Never mind. I'm not gonna Fed myself. I'm gonna not. I plead the fifth.
Okay.
Let's move on from this conversation, shall we? I don't think this is a good idea to be talking about governments and killing government. Maybe it's not a good idea.
Yeah, but I have the final one. Like Russia.
What about Russia?
What about Russia?
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm Russian, and I really like I know much about politics in Russia. So I think killing Putin will be definitely a right thing, because there is no actual because if we don't kill Putin, the suffering of Ukrainian people won't end.
Well, you don't have to kill him. You just have to make sure he's out of power. I mean, you can vote him out of power.
You need another
don't live in Russia. You don't understand like overthrowing the government is so hard in Russia nowadays.
Man, I remember back in the day, it was so easy.
Dude, I'm over here in America. Trust me, we know. We've done it.
Yeah,
We've
had back,
it's tough.
Government.
Yes.
Yeah, back in the day in Russia, man, you could overthrow the government every week. Wow.
No. It was actually easier to do it like in 19th century and 18th century.
Should have done it like. Should have done it like as soon as Putin got the place. He was why would you let a former KGB officer in power? Why the fuck would you, after you just because you were like, oh, it's a federation now, it's gonna be so much better. Why would you fucking let a former KGB officer into? That's just so stupid to me. I don't know why they.
Well, I wasn't elected in 1999. I wasn't born like back then.
Yeah, still, I mean, I just Russians in general. That's stupid that they did that.
But let me be bold enough to speak for the majority of Americans. We have no issue with the Russian people. It's all Putin and his lackeys.
Putin and his lackeys.
Yeah. Also,
and
and also, by the way, I'm definitely sure. Even if you kill Putin, he has kids who follow his ideology. He has his friends who follow his ideology. He built he built a perfect political pyramid that won't end ever.
It'll end.
It's,
You just have to. Oh, you look. I'm very certain that like no one supports Russia, even the Russian people don't support Russia. It's not a matter of killing Putin. All it really takes is just overthrowing the governmental structure, and then there's kind of nothing that. I think what Russia should do is split Russia up into like a bunch of different nations rather than one nation.
Hey, Frank.
Not
Wolf,
99.
Hey, Kitty, give me a sec. Go for it.
It's fine. I was just about to head out, and I want to say hi before I left. But I was also going to point out you might have strayed about I don't know a couple million miles away from your topic.
Yeah. I figured. I tried.
Yeah.
At the beginning, I tried to keep it centered around morality, but then everyone started talking, and I had to walk out for like 15 minutes, and then I came back. So, yeah, we'll get back on topic. So
that's fine. I just thought I might give you a good reason to do that.
Yes,
all right, guys. See y'all later.
All right, Bill. We'll
See ya.
See you.
Okay, moving on to the next topic, I think.
So, anyway, what do you guys think about the topic? Do atheists have a moral grounding? Do you guys agree, Mike's and Clockwork? Like, where you guys stand on that?
Mises had morality, Rothbard had morality, Hoppe has morality. None of them really believe in a god, so yeah, I'd say they have a moral grounding.
Yeah, and I said it in channel earlier that I appreciate that the title is "Do Atheists Have Moral Grounding?" as opposed to "Does Atheism Have Moral Grounding?"
Yeah.
Because as individuals, every atheist does have some moral ground. It's not necessarily the same as every
I mean,
other
Max Stirner didn't, so I mean, Sade also didn't. It's just there's a couple of atheists that didn't.
Some may not have the best moral grounding, but everybody grounds themselves somewhere.
There's a certain group of people who don't believe in morality at all, and they're what we call egoists. So,
but do you guys agree that you can't, as an atheist, you might not be able to have moral facts, you can have moral opinions, but not moral facts. Like, what do you guys think about that?
Oh, you have moral facts.
Fact is.
I get my morality completely separate from, or not morality, but I get my ethics. Sorry, I get my ethical stance completely separate of any kind of god or deity or whatever. So yeah, I'd say so. Yeah.
As an adherent of moral objectivism, I believe that there is no right or wrong in an action unless you're comparing it to a goal. So I don't know what a moral fact is in that situation.
I believe in moral facts.
Go ahead, Alfredo.
I don't think moral facts have been proven, right?
I was just curious to the atheists that how do they ground their morals? Like what grounds them?
Well, I mean, I'm not an atheist, but I can tell you I get my morals from outside of God, so I could tell you.
Well, that makes sense to me.
What do you mean?
Well, you get it from outside of God. Is that what you said?
I get it outside. I get my morals completely separate of any kind of, because I don't even know what deity is out there or whatever. So I can't get it. Huh?
Well, you could still have it grounded in God, but are you like a deist then?
No, I don't even. I would consider myself an occultist, but that's neither here nor there. So, basically, what I was gonna say is, I argued this earlier. I think we inherently have a concept of property that is in our brains, and I think since we have this a priori knowledge, we have the ability to own ourselves. And so I think our rights come from self-ownership. So I believe in rights outside of God.
For me, I ground morality in the natural consequences of actions.
You fucking Ayn Rand head ass.
Well, I mean, it really is, and I'm not saying that it defines all morality, but it's a grounding thing, is that our actions do have consequences.
Well, yeah, I understand it, and it makes sense. It's just, you know...
Question on that. So if you, like, what makes something moral is going to depend on the consequences?
Well, the consequences inform, how an action is going to affect anything.
Wait. So what's the ultimate moral goal? What should we be doing as a society?
Well, choosing the goal is admittedly a subjective, perhaps even arbitrary thing, but for me, it's the general well-being of thinking agents.
So what if we kill everyone who would be a harm to well-being?
That wouldn't be advantageous, because committing that act is psychologically damaging. You are deteriorating your own well-being by doing that.
Have you ever watched Death Note?
I have not.
I never.
I'm getting kind of confused here. When you guys say morals are real, what do you mean by real then? Because it seems like some of you are objective.
They're objectively real. They're a natural thing.
I would disagree. I would think, in my opinion, morality is purely subjective, and we get our morals from opinions that we have. Mental. Everyone has a different opinion on what morality is. So that's
I derived my ethics completely from reason. So how is mine subjective?
Go ahead, Alberto.
Okay, so
wait, give Alberto a second, because he was going to ask me a question.
Yeah.
So you're a subjectivist. Are you a realist or an anti-realist about subjectivism?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what those mean. But I'm pretty sure I'm an anti-realist more than a realist. Yeah.
What I mean by a realist is that there's going to be a truth value to the moral proposition, and an anti-realist is essentially going to deny categorical norms when it comes to some moral proposition.
How do you demonstrate the truthfulness to a moral proposition?
Well, demonstrating it's not key, because that's an epistemic question.
Then how do you take the stance that there is truth in the moral proposition without any ability to demonstrate?
Well, I mean, that's like I said, that's a different question. I'm not asking you how he knows it. I'm asking about his ontology.
Yeah, I would say I'm an anti-realist, because I don't agree with. Well, you could have norms in, I guess, if, how do I explain? I think you could have norms, but I don't think that norms are actually a real thing. I think it's all based on opinion. So I don't. If you could just get rid of all the norms, it would be just as good, I guess.
I have a very similar view. I'm a global error theorist. I don't think that there is such a thing as a norm at all when it comes to a moral.
Yeah, I've
man,
talked to
what is all of
past.
these? What of all these labels, man?
Well,
look,
I could explain it with a paragraph or maybe a small paper, but sometimes it's easier to just label something.
Maybe, but look. There's just all these confusing words, and
I'm willing to explain them.
Yeah, let Alberto talk. Lilith, can you let Alberto finish his point, please?
Whatever. Yeah.
Well, I was just curious about your view, because I mean, there's a lot of people up here, and if I want to have a conversation with someone, it's got to be a couple back and forth before someone jumps in, and I don't want to take up people's time if I can't get that. So I can be quiet.
All right.
Okay, so I have a different opinion. So I think morality versus anarchy, because
Hold up. Wait. What the fuck do you mean morality versus anarchy?
Yeah, I definitely mean that.
What the fuck are you talking about? No. Alright, anarchism is a moral stance in itself. The fuck? Talking about?
Well, I think we are talking about different anarchies.
Well, then you just be using it wrong. So
imagine people like so imagine people. I don't know.
Just say more morality versus like amorality.
I think it's morality versus bad or something. Because if people don't know what bad is this is total anarchy.
Hey, give me a second, guys. I would like to hear Alberto's point about air theory because I've heard that concept before, and I'd like to dive deeper into that. Alberto, you won't be interrupted, I promise. Guys, don't interrupt him, please. I appreciate it.
Well, I'm on like some interruption, but it's when you're trying to discover someone's view, you have to stay with that person.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, if you're just asking me like what I think about global air theory, I just don't think there's a fact of the matter outside of stance independent. So if you have some goals, we can say like, given your goals X and Y or desires that you may have, there could be like a fact of the matter for like the most optimal thing you ought do. So like there's still going to be usages for the words ought, should, but they're just going to be cashed out in the sense of like some sort of like maximal path towards some end. But there's never going to be some categorical ought where you ought not kill or something, because there's just always going to be a time where you should kill.
Right. So, in your opinion, do atheists have a moral grounding, or what's your opinion on that?
I mean, they claim to, but every single time, and you can look into some of these other philosophers that have studied this. Lance Bush is a really good one if you're interested. Every time someone claims moral grounding or some sort of moral realism, they seem to always get down to, well, it's a seeming, or they have this intuition. And I don't take intuitions to be justifiers. That's like a Pandora's box I'm not really willing to open, because of all the problems of allowing everybody's intuitions to justify their beliefs. I think we should we have intuitions, and that leads us down some path. But whether or not that justifies something is a different question.
I would. Clockwork is a moral realist, I think, right? Clockwork, am I right about that? Are you there, Clockwork?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry. I'm a moral objectivist.
Yeah, okay. That's just going to be a type of realism. So let me ask you some questions, if you don't mind them.
Okay.
So okay, we might have to define some terms here. When I say real, it's going to be a property. It has properties. And in this case, it's going to be like moral properties. So what makes a moral proposition true?
Whether or not it corresponds to the goal that you stated. As in, like, if it gets you closer to that goal.
Okay. Do you remember how I was talking about there's no stance independent ought, which is like a categorical ought? That's the type of real that people mean. If you do what you're saying, which is like, if you have a set of desires and goals, there's going to be like a thing that you should do in those, given those terms, you're going to have like a view like mine. What is going to be like you have to parse out is some sort of categorical thing. So like stance independent, like regardless of your desires, regardless of your goals, you ought to X.
Hey, Alberto, explain what you mean by categorical. What do you mean by that?
In every case.
Oh,
for all
okay.
cases X.
Right.
You ought do it, or you ought not do it.
I like your funny words, Magic Man.
Hey, QD,
I don't know
be
how
quiet.
it would. I don't know how I would justify an ought without if goal.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I find happens in a lot of these realist discourse is, well, even the ones that will say like you should never kill, like they just say like that's what they have, this intuition is like they don't have like a way of saying that it is the case without just saying, well, I have this intuition.
Right. Yeah, no, I could definitely see where it's situational, and there may be times where you need to kill.
Mm-hmm. The only ones that come close that aren't that are theists, because they grounded in God, but I'm sure you guys are well aware of like the problems with like the Euthyphro dilemma and such.
Yeah, for
So
sure. So
I mean,
so
they
I bet
seem to have a better grounding, but upon like further inspection, they also don't have grounding.
right. So do you think morality needs a grounding in that case, or are you the type of person that just says, well, morality is some sort of like creation of the mind that we kind of just came up with and we use it to try to live the best possible life we can? What's your opinion on that?
I'm not super sure on that. I guess I don't have much of a view on like the anthropological like reasoning why we have it. I would say the only one that seems like reasonable as far as like a realist position is like some sort of Platonic sense, but I still think that just goes down the same path as like a theism. What makes it good?
I've heard of Platonism before too,
But
but I don't agree with it as well. So
sure.
Oh, I have a change topic question. So I heard a lot of people say that they believe in people. What do you think about that statement?
they believe in people. I don't understand what you're
Yeah,
saying.
it's humanism.
Oh, humanism. Um, well, what do you mean by? Are you saying like treating others the way you want to be treated, like that type of humanism?
No, I like they say that people are gods. Like like we are perfect, and we can't be smarter.
Well, I don't think anyone's
Like
perfect, in my opinion. But anyway, yeah, I don't know if that's part of the topic, but uh, anyway, Clockwork, what were you gonna say?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. I thought about it.
Sorry.
Okay. Anyway, so QD. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what that has to do with the topic, but I don't think people are perfect. So that's just my opinion.
Okay, so
Frank, if you're interested in like some people to read up on like morals,
Yeah.
Christine Korsgaard and Lance Bush has a lot of like videos you can watch. He's done debates.
I've interacted with Lance Bush before on Clubhouse actually.
Yep, he's on there too.
Yeah.
He's great. Love him.
So I bet so like as an error theorist, so because I try to understand. My friend is an error theorist as well. His name is Darth Arianis. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I was just wondering like what exactly does the view hold? Like are you the type of person that like how do you view morals in your sense? Like do you not view them as something that's real at all or cuz that's what I figured that's what error theorists mean. It's like you don't view morals as something that's real at all, right?
Yeah, it's a type of anti-realism. What it means, so there's two major positions under anti-realism: non-cognitivism and error theory. There's other ones too, but those are like the more major ones. And uh, non-cognitive is like there aren't really moral propositions at all. people are just like emoting when they say X is bad, or telling you about their feelings or something, but there isn't actually like a moral proposition. And error theorists will say there is a moral proposition, they're just all false. And the analogy for that is something like, so if you're an atheist and you're hearing a Catholic and a Protestant talk about, I don't know, the Eucharist or something, they're having a real dispute with each other. Like they're actually arguing, real things, like real statements at each other. But from the atheist perspective, since God isn't real and Christianity is not true, all of their statements are false because they don't correspond to anything.
Right.
And that's exactly how error theory gets parsed out. It's like there are real propositions, they're just all false.
Yeah, I think that's why I generally, if somebody makes any kind of a moral proposition, my first impulse is why? What leads you to that? Can you explain? Is there justification? Is there ground?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. This is just what intuits to me, but also I don't see a justification for any other position. And the only reason why I'm not like a non-cognitivist is I do think moral propositions.
True. So what's the point of having moral propositions at that point if they're not even like valid?
I don't know what you mean by valid. Like that because they're not true?
Right. Yeah. They're not even they're not true. So why do they even why does it even matter if they're actually true or not? Like why does that matter in your opinion?
Well, the whole thing about morals, like really, this is actually why I don't really like talking about morals. It's more about the discourse. Like when we talk to each other and we're trying to talk about what we mean when we say X is bad, all these different positions are just how they kind of cash out what that meaning is more than anything. And I believe when someone says something like X is bad, they are trying to express something. It just doesn't have a fact of the matter. When the non-cognitive position is just really strange to me where they don't mean, like there's no, the words don't have meaning. To me, they do.
Yeah, I would say the words have meaning as well.
Oh, sorry. I kind of didn't answer your question.
Right.
So, we have lots of statements that are useful that are false. And this is going to be Harry Potter has a wand is a false statement because it doesn't correspond to reality or whatever your truth theory is. But chances are it doesn't mean anything. It's not true. And similar, like we still have statements that are useful, but they're just false.
Right. So why do you believe that moral statements can't be true but like they always fail to be true? Because it basically sounds like what you're saying is that like moral statements are basically useless. Like we have a nihilist position on them. Like whenever we say something's bad, like we really can't say it's good or bad, but why do you like still presuppose truth when making a moral statement?
Okay. There's a lot to be said about what you said there.
Basically,
moral proposition presupposes.
I'm just going to dumb that down.
No,
basically, why are you an error theorist instead of a non-cognitivist?
I just explained why. Were you here?
Well, yeah, but you said that you basically just said like moral statements have meaning behind that. But like, what does that mean? Like, what is that meaning?
When someone's uttering the proposition that they have meaning. That's it. That's all it means.
Yeah. But like, how does that meaning presuppose truth or something?
Because propositions are truth apt.
Well, yeah, but you could. But I mean, wouldn't you say that moral propositions are just like emotional statements?
If you're a non-cognitivist,
okay,
or potentially like an error theorist, but most non-cognitivist positions are some sort of emotional thing.
Okay, so why don't you believe we have access to moral facts?
Well, do you have justification for them? I'm willing to accept it if I hear a justification that isn't, I have this intuition. Because I don't think intuitions are justifiers.
What do you mean by intuition?
Like every time I've heard someone give like a categorical ought, and we have a discussion about it, it usually bottoms out in, well, I just have the intuition.
Okay. Have you heard of Michael Huemer's argument for moral realism?
Maybe not the name. The name to the argument doesn't sound familiar.
So basically, what Michael Huemer says is that if we have justified belief in believing X, then we ought to believe X. So if so if we believe that like murder is bad, then murder is obviously bad. But we shouldn't believe this if there's any defeater. So we shouldn't believe X is Y if there's a defeater for us saying like no, actually X isn't Y. And same thing can be said about moral statements.
Yeah, I think you can have a belief, which is, the proposition. I just don't think they're justified.
Well, yeah, but like that would obviously be contradictory because like we believe murder is bad, yeah. And there's no defeater for it.
Do you believe that we can have beliefs that aren't justified?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Do you think that we can have unjustified beliefs?
No. What do you mean by that? Can you give me an example?
If you look into the night sky, is it even or odd stars?
I don't know. But I'm sure we could find that out.
Well, we can find it out. But if you gave me an answer, which is like a realism approach, do you think that that's a justified answer?
Is there any defeaters? Like, obviously, if you actually knew the answer, and like I answered even, but they're actually odd, like obviously that would be a defeater.
Look, the giving an answer is going to be equivalent to saying I have the belief. Now, if I ask you, why do you believe that? And you give some reason, and the reason seems to be like, causally linked, or you can give some explanation for it, then yeah, I think that's a justification.
Yeah, okay, but this is about descriptive statements as well. It's because it sounds like what you're saying. Oh yeah, like descriptive statements, like saying there's a chair in front of me, or I'm me and you're you, are just emotional statements as well. Like they're just beliefs. They don't really mean anything. There's no epistemic coherency to them. Is that what you're saying?
Say that again? I'm not sure I followed.
Because basically, it sounds like what you're saying is that, like, oh yeah, I just have a belief of like there are an even amount of stars in the sky, but there's actually an odd. But because like all like knowledge comes from beliefs, I can't really have like actual knowledge or like objectively true knowledge.
I don't know objectively true is doing there, but I think that all you need to have knowledge.
Okay, we have knowledge like there's facts independent of us. Like that's what I mean by objectively true.
Okay. I think that if you have a justified belief, that's knowledge. I don't even need I think you'd need a theory of truth to determine if it's truth apt, but I don't even require that, it's true. I think you can have knowledge of false things.
Okay, how? Can you give me an example?
Well, I can say I know where I parked my car, but unbeknownst to me, my car was stolen. But I can provide lots of justification for my belief. I would still count that as knowledge.
Yeah, but like my argument for like having justified beliefs through intuitions is basically saying, yeah, we can believe X, like if there's no defeater, but there's obviously a defeater for X, so we can't believe X. Same thing with your like, oh, like I parked my car there, but obviously you didn't because obviously you did. Like no one's like contesting that, but obviously it's not there. Okay, why is it not there? Someone stole it, so that'd be a defeater that your car is where you parked it. So, I mean,
yeah, it would be false.
Hey,
yeah.
Albedo, isn't
yeah,
that,
okay, yeah. Wait, so what do you mean?
Give me a sec, Owens. Isn't that fallibilism? What you're describing? Yeah. Okay. Keep going, Owens.
Some people take it a little bit differently, but I don't really require like the truth to be there.
Okay, what do you like by truth to be there? Do you just mean like we can't? They're like propositions aren't truth apt, or what do you mean?
No, propositions are truth apt. What I mean is like it doesn't have to be true. Our beliefs are necessarily pointed at truth, but when I utter the statement, "My car is in the garage," like at the time of the statement, it could be false. But for it to be knowledge, I would say that as long as you have the belief and it's justified, then it's knowledge.
Okay, but again, like, just what? So, what do you mean by justification?
It's going to be like true propositions with an inference rule.
Can you explain
like an
your
argument?
inference rule?
An argument.
Okay, I don't know what an inference rule is.
An inference rule is a truth-preserving type of argument, like modus ponens, modus tollens, transitive, additive.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Again, I still like, again, if we can believe X and like X tells us like Y is wrong, but there's no defeater for X, then we can believe Y is wrong. Okay. Now, can you tell me why you disagree with that?
I mean, if you're just going to say like phenomenal conservatism is like compelling to me, I don't have like much to say to you. It's just not going to be compelling to me. I've already like kind of laid out that I don't find intuitions as justifiers. So your position is just never going to compel me.
Okay, but like, do you present a defeater for the argument?
Your argument for me doesn't get off the ground because I don't find intuitions to be justified.
Okay, but like, again,
so your argument is
but like we can agree that all knowledge comes from our intuitions.
No, I disagree.
Okay, how so?
Because I think that justification comes from true statements conjoined by a inference rule, an argument.
Okay, I mean the inference rule it's the same with phenomenal conservatism. Like if we believe X, but like it's X, but X is contradictory to like whatever our like base theory is, then obviously X isn't true. So we can say like modus ponens, okay, X is X, obviously. So we can't say X is not X. So X is obviously X. But we can also say X like causes us to believe Y. Okay, modus ponens. Okay, like is there a contradiction for us to say no? X doesn't make us believe, and Y. Okay, and that would be a defeater, which is just another way of saying it would just be a contradiction. It wouldn't follow modus ponens.
When you say a defeater, you're saying like it's ends up being false or something. What do you say about like propositions or like theories that can't be falsified?
Can you give me an example?
Well, it's going to be something like the Matrix.
Do you mean like dialethesis? Like
dialetheism? No.
Yeah. Okay. No. What do you mean?
Like the theory that you're in the Matrix, all your evidence that you're in the Matrix is going to be consistent with the hypothesis that you're not in the Matrix. So there's no evidence you can point to show that you're in it or out of it.
Okay. I mean, so if there's no evidence that I would be in it, why would I believe I'm in it?
Well, that's what I'm trying to say is like, do you think that people can believe that? You believe that you're out of it, right?
Okay. Well, yeah, I would just say they have unjustified belief and that they're just not being rational.
No, you have that belief already.
Wait, but like, okay, why do I have that belief though?
Do you believe that you're out of the Matrix?
I don't believe there is a Matrix. Like,
okay, but I'm giving you a hypothesis right now that you're in a Matrix. And everything about the Matrix is it's consistent with the real world. Okay. Every observation. So tell me why you believe that you're in one over the other.
Well, are they qualitatively the same? Like yes. My world. Okay, then I couldn't really make a decision then.
Like, exactly. You should be agnostic. Yeah, are you agnostic? No, you're not.
Okay, but like, what does that have to do with like when statements we can know to be true? That's like that's it. Wait, but like that's literally like that's not really relevant, and that's an irrelevant hypothetical.
You can be agnostic and still not believe that you're in a Matrix.
No, agnostic means abstaining from the proposition. But no, it is like relevant because I asked you if what you mean by a defeater is if it's false, and I asked you if it can be falsified.
Can the defeater be falsified?
Yeah, if your proposition, like, how can you know if you're wrong about morals?
Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. So,
like, what would falsify? What would be a defeater?
So generally, like we can say like X is like we have justified belief for X, and X leads us to believe Y is bad. But someone can disagree with us, and depending on like how many people disagree with us, like generally we have the same intuitions, we have the same justified beliefs. You might say no, like we like 5 of us here probably have a different opinion, but like that's because like we're doing like talking about esoteric shit. But generally in society we can all tell like, yeah, there's a chair in front of us, yeah, murder is bad, yeah, you shouldn't do this, yeah, you shouldn't do that. So we would just refer to other people to say like, yeah, what do you think, like what does your intuitions tell us?
So the way that your defeater is going to be how you can tell is if more people agree or disagree with you.
Well, not necessarily, but like we can also just say like, yeah, you're like if you're irrational, we can say, yeah, like your belief isn't justified because you're irrational. Or yeah.
Yeah, if you're being irrational, then you're necessarily being unjustified.
Yeah.
Owens, hey Owens, do you think that if more like most people agree on some sort of moral statement, like do you think that would make the moral statement true at that point, or what do you think?
I mean, obviously, like language. I'm sorry. Obviously, knowledge and moral feelings have moral statements, and like how we view them have evolved over time. But generally, I would say right now, like we have the best knowledge we've ever had, so we have the best moral knowledge we've ever had, so we can dictate of how we will act. Will this knowledge evolve? Probably. But this is the best knowledge we have right now, and hopefully in the future we will develop new defeaters for our current knowledge.
Okay, that makes sense.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, where are your morals? Where are they grounded?
My intuitions. Wait.
Well, you don't want to say that.
Well, like, what are you asking?
Like, where do they come from? Like, are you subjectivist, or do they exist objectively? Are they relative? You're some type of realist, I'm assuming. So,
sorry. I'm just a moral realist. I think. I don't think I don't think they like moral facts are in nature or pertain in what's natural. So.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't have like a definitive meta-ethical stance or justification.
Okay. Are you a theist by chance?
No.
I'm not going to press you on that.
I'm agnostic. I don't know enough about theism and atheism to really say anything, but I can argue like moral realism, or I can argue against non-cognitivism and moral theorist.
You should look into the same people I told Frank to look into. Christine Korsgaard. You'll have to read into her papers, but she does a lot of like non-cognitivist stuff, and she is a type of realist, some structuralist, I want to say. But Lance is like a era theorist. Lance Bush. He does a lot of like debates and interviews. He's real good too.
How do you spell?
You may just be interested in hearing it from someone else that, for one, is way more knowledgeable on the topic than I am.
Yeah. How do you spell the first name? Christine what?
Korsgaard. It's going to be Kors.
Okay, yeah. I found her. Thank you.
Yeah.
And she's a moral realist, Alberto?
I'm pretty sure that it's a type of realism, structuralist. I'm not super sure. I actually haven't read her myself. I've only read like bits and pieces through other people. But she is real good. She's like one of the top like moral people. So definitely would look into her if you're interested in morals. I actually don't really find the moral topic all that really interesting, to be honest.
I don't find it I don't find it that interesting either, but I was just wondering if people believe that atheists have moral grounding, because I personally, like, I don't even know if it's possible for an atheist to have a moral grounding personally. So I I was like, maybe that's an interesting topic to bring up, even though theists also have problems. I agree with that as well, but you know, I guess I would say they're more justified in believing that they have moral grounding. So,
well, like Owens mentioned, there's moral naturalism, there's moral non-naturalism. Non-naturalism is going to be like a type of Platonism, or maybe it's like a type of mental property. Moral naturalism could just be as simple as like there are physical facts that, when conjoined, bring about moral facts. So, an example is like three people in a car collides into another car, two people die, and like those like physical facts conjoined just say like ought not drive drunk, or so whatever like the situation was is just going to like bring about some moral fact.
Actions have consequences, and those consequences are either aligned with your goals or aligned against them, or neutral. There may be actions that don't either.
So like moral naturalists, usually they're either Aristotelians, either they believe like an object has a function and it ought to like fulfill that function, or they're usually consequentialists and say that pleasure is good and like pleasure exists like in reality, and we can only know that from our senses. Those are the main two justifications for moral naturalism.
And I would say the pleasure is generally preferable to pain, but not always.
Well, yeah, but those are like the most common justifications for moral naturalism.
And I guess I would consider myself a moral naturalist.
So, are you a consequentialist?
I mean, I believe that actions have consequences. I don't necessarily believe that consequences dictate, but I think they.
Well, yeah, but that's not what the consequentialist says. It says that. Okay, so like, wait. So, why would you call yourself a moral naturalist?
Well, in just that, as we're talking about, the actions have natural consequences, and we can assess whether or not those consequences get us further away from our goal, closer to it, or neither.
Okay.
Cool. And if that's not what a moral naturalist is, then that's not what I am. I'm just saying it sounded like.
Well, like, again, like moral naturalism is just a theory that, like, we get our morals, or there are moral facts that exist in reality, and we have to use empirical knowledge to gain them.
Oh no, I don't. I think morals or morality is an assessment, just like beauty. It's something that we are judging. I don't think that exists outside of our mind. I don't believe there's a absolute morality or moral truths independent of opinion.
Okay, then you'd be a moral non-naturalist by saying, yeah, we can know morals a priori or through practical reasoning.
Yeah, I would agree with that point as well. I believe that morals are opinions and morality comes from our intuition. I don't know how Alberto feels about that, but that's basically what I believe.
So, do you believe that there are moral facts?
No, I don't think there can be moral facts.
Okay, why? Or what's your justification?
Because they're based on opinion, so they're all based on what we conceive of the world, like the way we think the world should be, but that's not necessarily the way the world should actually be, There isn't a fact of the matter that things should operate a certain way.
Okay, that bets the question though. You already like presuppose that there are normal moral facts. So like if I presented, so what do you think we can have like objective knowledge in general? Yeah, like not even prescriptive knowledge that we can like describe reality accurately, or we can have true a priori propositions.
I believe we can have objective, like we do know about objective reality. Yeah, I do agree with that.
Okay. Okay, then how do you separate that we can have like objective knowledge of reality versus there are moral facts are just opinions? Because it just sounds like you think like, oh, all knowledge is like opinions. So if you actually believe that, that means
no, I don't
like
think all knowledge is opinion. I separate the two categories. Like uh, morality is all opinion based. It's all based on like if humans did not exist, morality would not exist anymore. That's the way I see it.
all right,
Um,
so let's
the,
just start with your epistemic justification for descriptive facts. So how do we know if we have justified belief for describing something?
uh, justified belief. Well, uh, I guess we get our justified belief through our experience of the natural world, and we gain through that experience we gain knowledge. So
Okay, can't we say the same thing about morality? I mean, we can just say like, oh, like yeah, we gain experience over time. We develop more knowledge of what is morally right, what is morally wrong, and we apply that to our lives.
yeah, but like okay, if we did not exist, right, then morality would not exist. That's the way I see it. So like if there like if we cease to exist, like a rock is still going to be a rock. So objective reality still exists. So I would separate those two categories between what is objective and what we call morality as because it's something that is totally human dependent and not
Okay,
dependent on anything
so
else.
take a priori knowledge. Like we can know A is A, yeah, and that's dependent on our on human rationality. Yeah, do you disagree?
No, I agree.
Okay, so for saying like, oh, like knowledge, like moral knowledge, just be dependent on us and the one that exists outside of us, isn't necessarily true when sorry, when you take like the statement, yeah, A is true, and that's an independent fact of reality. But obviously, it can't be like you can't say that's always going to be true when you also say, yeah, moral statements aren't always going to be true.
Well, are you saying? Let me see if I understand what you're saying. So you're saying like we can't have knowledge because it's mind dependent as well. Is that what you're saying?
No, it sounds like well, no, I'm saying that's your argument that you're basically saying yeah, we can have like secure moral knowledge because it's all human dependent. Well, also like what not like a for our knowledge that grounds like any like empirical knowledge is also mind dependent, so that can't be true. I mean human dependent, so that obviously can't be true either. But A is true, and it will always be true, and it is an independent fact of reality. So that
But the
means
laws of
moral facts
logic
also have to be true.
they describe reality though. So it's like what you're
Well,
saying
yeah,
is like
there's
yeah.
wait,
So it's
wait,
a
wait.
description of reality.
Logic can also be applied to morality. Like we can say X is if X is true, then we can say if Y is true, then we can believe in sorry, if X is true, we can believe in Y, and we can say Y tells us not to do or to do certain things. But if we have justified belief in X, we can believe in Y. So that means like we can use logic to like know if moral statements are true or false. Does that make
Uh,
sense?
I'm not getting that. That's the only part I don't. Everything else I agree with what you're saying, but I don't understand that part. Like I understand we can use logic to like reason about morality, but I just don't. I don't know. I don't see morality as something that's actually like empirical because another thing is like everyone has different intuitions about what's moral, and so it's like even someone who even like philosophers, they hold different positions on what they think morality is, and they're all different, so they can't even agree. So I would say it's it obviously doesn't seem like it's objective.
Wait. Like, just because we disagree on it doesn't mean there's not objective. Like scientists disagree on like what's fact and what's not, but they disagree. So does that mean there's no fact?
Well, okay, scientists disagree, but when there's a consent, like even there's a consensus on certain things, like evolution, for instance, like 90, I think 97, 98% of scientists agree that evolution occurred. So it's more or less the truth, like the fringe view of evolution is not held by many because, they're committed to believing in like a young earth and all that. So it's, like if there's a consensus in the field, then it leads to the credence that it's actually the fact of the matter. So it's like with morality, there's not really much of a consensus. I think it's split, what,
Uh,
60,
I think
40?
I think there kind of is. I mean, like, take the U.S. for example. Like 50% agree with how the country ought to be run, and the other 50% believe that another way of how the country ought to run. Like, this is millions of people that agree. So, I mean, again, like, just because there's a divide doesn't mean like we can't reach a consensus on morality. Same thing
What,
with
what
like,
would that look like in your opinion? What would a consensus on morality look like in your opinion?
well, if we agree on something and there's no defeaters for like claiming such moral fact to be true, then it's true.
Like even what you said before, like murder is wrong, right? I would agree murder is wrong, but what if there was like someone who came up with like a reason why murdering is not necessarily bad or immoral? Like, what if there was someone who believed that it was actually something that that's actually a good thing for whatever reason? Uh, how would you go against their position?
Well, I would say I would try to critique their defeater by saying it's not actually a defeater, and then I don't know. I mean, it depends on the critique.
So it depends on the person and
Because I mean,
that's
I
what
would
I'm
just
saying.
try to. No,
It
wait,
depends on the
no,
person.
it doesn't. I would just try to critique the defeater critique their defeater with my defeater. Um, like you have to give me an example.
Right. I would. Okay. Okay, I'll give you an example. Let me think. Um, let's say I'll give you an easy example. What about like gay people are evil or whatever? Gay people are wrong because they're gay, right? And
Yeah,
a certain amount of people believe this, a certain amount of people don't believe it. What would be? How would you answer the person that says, "Well, it's wrong because it's not natural"? How would you defeat that position?
I would show evidence. Like, yeah, being gay is natural. There's nothing non-natural about it. I mean, like when we look out in nature, we can see homosexual behavior happening between other species.
But what if they
It's
said?
not
But what if they
abnormal.
said, "Well, it's against God's rule or God's law or whatever"?
Okay, then I mean, I'm not a divine command theorist, so I would critique or I would prove a defeater or prove a contradiction in their thought.
See, I just don't. I don't know. I just don't find. I don't know. I just don't find that to be too convincing. Like, I want a system like I like science because like most of the time, I mean, there are disagreements, but once there's a consensus, it's almost impossible to overthrow it unless like there's a new theory that comes around that can explain it better. And morality just doesn't work the same way. Do you get what I'm saying?
I mean, that's not from what I've been saying. Like, what do you disagree? Like with what I'm saying though? Like, obviously, like if there's a disagreement, we would have a defeater by saying, yeah, such like Ed's belief isn't true. Like, so my belief is. I mean, that's basically how science evolves, is it not?
But what I'm saying is how do you just like you're like in terms of the feeders, like I get where you're coming from, but like what if someone just like like you can't defeat their defeater? Do you get what I'm or like in terms of like or I'm sorry, your defeater doesn't work for them. Do you get what I'm saying?
Uh, I don't. I mean, yeah, I get what you're saying. But if they were just like, I don't like that. I'd be like, yeah, that sucks. You're in contradiction. You're wrong. I don't know. I'm sorry you're upset about that.
Like how would you convince a Christian to be on your side in terms of like the gay
It's not
like the
about.
gay thing, like in terms of like being gay or whatever? How would you convince a Christian to change their opinion?
Oh, it's not about convince. Wait, it has nothing to do with convincing. Like, like we don't believe something to be true because like I convinced you on it.
Right, but if not enough people, okay, that's what I'm saying. If you can't gain some sort of like actual consensus on the matter, because people have different opinions on it, then it's obviously not objective and obviously not true. That's what I'm saying. That's the whole point that's where I'm coming from.
Wait, but I would still critique like the Christian and like their logic. But I don't
but
have
you wouldn't be able to defeat them.
wait.
You said you had a defeater.
No. You're misunderstanding. Like,
right.
I would critique my logic. I'm sorry. I would critique their logic, but like I don't have to convince them ultimately to believe that like gay people are like unnatural or immoral. I mean, like they can believe that all they want, but they would ultimately be wrong.
Yeah, but how would you? That's the point. What if they don't think you're? How do you know that they're wrong? Do you get what I'm saying?
So if I presented rational argument to them, and if they said, "Yeah, I don't like that," okay, well, I would just say you're irrational, and like you're obviously not operating under the same logic.
That's not how it works. You can't just say they're irrational because they like if that were the case, then like
yes, I can. I can just say, yeah, your moral beliefs aren't justified.
Then half of America's irrational. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I would just say, yeah, your thinking is irrational and it's not logical. Like, and if they were to say, oh, well, it's just my opinion. Well, I'm like, okay, yeah, if you don't have a defeater for my argument, then I don't see why I'm wrong.
It's like, I'll give you a perfect example, abortion. Like half the country doesn't believe in abortion at this point because half of the country is Republican, basically, and they don't believe in abortion. But abortion is still legal. So how would you defeat that position? I mean, you're saying you would use logic, but in many cases that doesn't work, though. That's why I'm saying that it's subjective. It's ultimately subjective, and it's based on what the person believes and their opinions. I mean, I don't know. Like I'm trying to make it as clear as possible, but maybe I'm having a hard time doing it. But anyway, Axiom, Wheels, go ahead.
I was just curious. I'm sorry. I was just curious. Someone said something earlier. He said that you've been describing that your default position is that if you have an intuitional idea, you can accept it as true unless it's been defeated.
Yeah, unless there's a defeater.
Gotcha. Would that go for competing claims? This is what Albedo was saying with like a non-falsifiable assertion.
What do you mean by competitive claim?
Like his position on like you both are and are not in the matrix. You'd have to take like a positive. You'd have to believe both of them, right? If there wasn't a defeater to either.
Honestly, I mean, if I had justified, it depends. Like, was I already in the matrix to begin with?
It doesn't matter.
Okay, then I would just say, yeah, that knowledge, like, we just can't have knowledge of that.
Okay, can't have knowledge on it. So you would not accept the default position. Your default position would not be to accept it in that case.
I would just say it's epistemically unreachable. Like, we can't reach a consensus.
You said before that scientists do that all the time, right? They accept the conclusion until it's defeated?
Yeah.
Do you think that's an intuition-based position?
With how I'm using intuition, yeah.
Gotcha. No, I mean in science.
Yeah, sure.
Gotcha. Okay. So if a scientist posited a hypothesis about how something worked, the default is to accept that as true until it's been defeated.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay.
Oh man.
So, like, why does one need a justification for moral grounding?
I just want to point out what he said is the exact opposite of the way it works.
Yeah,
it's kind of a crazy view. Yeah. No offense.
Me?
Yeah, I think like that's just a very strange view.
Hey, Wheels. Hey, give me a sec. Wheels, what do you mean by that? Go ahead and explain yourself.
His default position is accepting all hypotheses as true, rather than accepting them all as false and needing a burden of proof.
I'm not accepting them as like true automatically. Like, I mean,
if they haven't been defeated, they're truth, right? Yeah.
Okay. Well, so okay. Again, how is that crazy?
You're accepting. It's not crazy. It's It's
I'm not accepting
a faulty epistemology.
Wait, if we go by that logic, couldn't we argue for an infinite universe with crunch theory with a naturalistic point of view and get to atheism?
You could argue for anything. You could argue for I believe that there is a diamond buried under the surface of Venus that's like 2,000 pounds, and until that's disproved, I hold that belief, and it is true by your definition.
Well, yeah, I could just say, yeah, we don't have justified, there's no belief for that, so that would be an inherent defeater to itself. So like,
wait, there's no belief for that? What do you mean?
Well, I'm sorry, there's no evidence for us to say that, so that's a defeater itself.
not what you've been advocating so far.
I mean, that's a defeater, man. I mean, like, I wouldn't believe
The
something
fact that the absence of evidence is a defeater.
Oh yes, just dismiss it.
So then your claim about there being like moral truths, right? If you can't present evidence for that, that would also be a defeater?
Well, can you give me an example?
We're asking you for the example.
Basically. Yeah, we would. If you can't provide evidence that moral truths are real, then that is the defeater. Just like the diamond on Venus.
Okay, yeah.
Give us one moral truth, just one.
Okay, yeah. If we believe X and X infers Y, and Y tells us what we ought to do, but and X is true, that means Y is also true. That means
we would need that the X is true. I would whatever that word is.
Okay,
I'm still waiting for an example.
Okay, I mean, okay, to just take back what I said, I guess I wasn't being articulate enough. But I guess a defeater would be like in case like, oh, we can believe anything unless like it doesn't have a defeater. Like a defeater itself is like we don't have justification, we don't have justificatory belief to believe such proposition. Like there's actually no evidence. Like we can't just say like, oh, like unicorns exist. Well, you can't really say that because like we can't really defeat that because like we don't really have knowledge of like unicorns. Like obviously we've never seen one, so we don't have any knowledge of it. But that's not necessarily true because we also don't have like we've never seen such thing happen. So like that would be a defeater for us saying like, oh, like unicorns exist.
This is what Albedo was pushing you on the whole time.
Okay, I mean then I'm sorry I just answered it then.
Okay.
Do you know what phenomenal conservatism is? Owens?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. You should look into the problems of that. You may like have like a good idea of like this moral like argument for it. If you allow justification to come from intuitions, you're allowing so many things to be true in virtue of like intuitions that's gonna like freak you out. And you'll just like be scared of that position. Like I feel like if you end up at that position, you messed up somewhere.
Like, okay, how?
Because like think about like what he was Wheels was saying. Like if you have a seeming that you like that there's like a diamond on Venus, like that's going to be reason to believe it.
Okay, wait. But again, I answered this by saying like, oh, we can have a defeater by saying like, if we actually don't see a diamond on Venus, or if like we know like the geology of Venus, and we can't infer, or we don't, or that information doesn't lead us to infer that there is a diamond on Venus, then obviously that would be a defeater by saying no, there's not a diamond on Venus.
Yeah, I agree that like evidence is going to be like something that pushes.
Well, yeah, like lack of evidence is obviously a defeater.
Well,
what about when evidence is purposefully deleted?
Lack of evidence isn't going to be a defeater.
Wait, Alex, that would be a defeater then.
It's going to have to be evidence against it, not lack of evidence.
Yeah, that's evidence against it.
Yeah, that's different than lack of evidence.
Okay, well, like lack of evidence that there's like if we just don't have justified belief for saying such thing.
The justification comes from your seemings. So.
Well, yeah, if it doesn't seem the case, then obviously, like, I can't say, like, oh, there's something in front of me, and, like, someone says, like, no, there's not, when there's clearly not, but I'm saying, oh, you can't really know that because you can't see what I see. Like, obviously, I'd just be like, okay, but, like, there's no evidence for us to actually believe that, so, like, there's not really anything in front of you. So, therefore, it doesn't seem like there's something in front of you.
Like, I'm not trying to undermine all of epistemology with, like, saying you have no reason to believe your, like, eyesight. I'm trying to say, like, given you don't have evidence to believe something, you shouldn't believe it. That's what I've been trying to say.
Okay, but like, I think phenomenal conservatism, like, this is a problem in phenomenal conservatism, but I also think like phenomenal conservatism, it acts as like a framework for how we justify our beliefs, or how we know what is true, or how we can like develop our best theory of what's true. By basically saying like, yeah, we can believe this, but if we have reason to doubt such belief, then obviously we should doubt this belief. Obviously, it's not true. And I think that's just a framework for how like describing how we how we actually should approach any epistemology, and any moral reasoning.
I don't throw out intuitions like altogether. I think that they're good starting points. Like if we have this feeling of like, I don't know, morals existing, we should kind of like follow where that is. And maybe like to some degree, I mean, we may not even be able to abstain from belief from some things, like believing that we exist, even if like the Matrix thing. Most people believe that they're not in the Matrix, even though they have no evidence for it or against it. I was just having a chat in the text chat about it. If you don't have evidence for something, you shouldn't believe it. But yet people believe that they're in the real world, and they know of lots of hypotheses that are underdetermined. And yet they all still have a belief that it's false.
Yeah, but I could just ask you, like phenomenal conservatism solves the problem of like grounding our beliefs. So basically what you're saying, it sounds like you're a correspondence theorist, or
no, I'm a pluralist.
A plural. Okay, what do you mean?
I think that correspondence theory is a way to determine truth. I think pragmatism is a way to determine truth. I think analytic theory of truth and deflationary theory of truth.
Okay, so yeah, basically phenomenal conservatism just basically solves the problem of asking like or of us asking like what makes a justified belief. Okay, and we give them an answer. Okay, but we could also ask like, okay, what makes us justified? What makes that belief justified that justifies that belief, and so on. And basically our intuition, like by saying like, oh, we have justified belief to believe this, unless there's a defeater, and we can know there's a defeater by our intuition, solves this problem of like infinite regression of like, can we know this to be true without begging the question infinitely.
What is wrong with an infinite regression?
Because we can't reach truth. It's always gonna, like, we can always ask like, why is that true? Okay, and why is that truth true about what you're saying is true?
Are you familiar with the trilemma?
No.
I was about to ask that.
I was about. You want to handle it, Albedo, or
you can go ahead. You can go ahead.
So basically, the beginning of your structure of your philosophy or epistemology or your belief system stems from one of three beginnings. It's either infinite or regressive, circular, which is the stereotypical, and axiomatic / dogma. You must accept one of those three beginnings in order to have like begin your belief system. It all boils down to one of those three things. They are all accepted of themselves. It's a matter of the outcome and the least amount of questions, aka Occam's razor.
Okay.
Sounds like you don't like infinitism.
Yeah,
which is fine. If you don't like infinitism, it's fine, but you still have to accept it as, the basic.
Sounds like he's a foundationalist, and he's picking one of his foundations to be a seeming. Why not just ground it in something that's more, like, less problematic?
Albedo, you have to remember, foundationalism is basically circular.
It's not
which is perfectly fine. I could be like, the laws, nature proves that life exists. Life exists because nature exists. I could use the same argument and it justifies itself, and I could base all of my moral systems on that, or my epistemology on the ideology of the natural world / materialism, and get to the same point as, atheism / Satanism.
Yeah, so I would just say like my intuitions, like if we were to have any type of belief or any like if we have any knowledge, we have to use our intuitions. So I would say like our intuitions are normatively capable of reaching knowledge or creating knowledge.
What do you take knowledge to be? Just a justified belief?
Yeah.
What do you think justification is?
It'd be justified if there's no defeaters.
No. Like, what is justification? I told you what mine was.
Well, yeah, if we don't have any defeaters, like
No. Like that just tells you if you're justified. I'm asking, what is justification? Like define justify.
What is the essence of justification?
What does it mean to justify something?
Okay, I don't get what you're asking.
What's the definition of justification? Justify.
A belief is true.
Is belief inherent to truth?
Wait a minute.
Okay, wait. Okay, sorry. A proposition is true. Sorry.
A true proposition is justification for a belief?
Wait. I really don't get what you're asking. Sorry.
Okay. I'm asking you to define what justification is. And I'll tell you what, I'll give you what I said before because, well, first of all, it's like the only real answer that makes sense. I haven't heard anybody else provide anything better, but it's going to be true propositions conjoined by an inference rule, aka an argument.
Okay.
Like, for example, A implies B, B implies C, therefore A implies C.
Okay.
That's a truth preserved argument. And if the premises are true, we know for sure with absolute certainty that that is true.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. I guess I would say our intuitions allow us to accept the law of non-contradiction, the law of identity, and from then we can deduce logic.
What about the law of excluded middle? Do you accept that?
What is that?
Subject A cannot be both true and not true.
Okay, I would say knowledge that is paradoxical is just epistemically unreachable to us. It's inaccessible. We can't really say if it's true or false.
How does one get is truth objective or subjective?
Objective.
How does one tell through a subjective mindset?
What do you mean?
We have subjective brains. A lot of our inferences are subjective. A lot of our brains take into the account of subjectivity. We have our own individual maps of reality, how our brains filter out some information that is not needed and fill in the gaps for unexplained phenomena. How do we diagnose how true a claim is? Do we use a scale of -100 to +100, or do we use a scale of 99 to 99%? Like how do we get a percentage of truth?
I don't know about percentage of truth. I haven't really heard any arguments like that, but I would just say from like knowing the law of identity and the law of non-contradiction, we can deduce logic. So, and this is all a priori. So we can know if something is absolutely true a priori or if it's not true a priori. When it comes to knowledge that's not a priori and that we learn from general induction, I would just say like we can believe something, and this is like where intuitions come in place, that we can believe in something like if it's justified. But obviously, like since we're using induction, since we have to use induction with using a posteriori knowledge, that knowledge isn't always we aren't always going to be sure that knowledge is going to be 100% true, but we can say that this seems true.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
I would just say it seems true if there's no defeater.
Maybe I should clarify. When I say probability, this is kind of the scale that I use.
Okay,
I
wait.
say nothing.
Just to preface, I don't have like a theory of probability. I can't tell you like this statement's going to be like 63% true most of the time, or like I don't know much about that.
So basically, it's saying what is the most true and most likely that begs the least amount of questions and is simple.
I mean, if you're referring to Occam's razor, I think Occam's razor is like a good way of like justifying a posteriori knowledge. but I don't have like a theory that can like percentage like, oh, like this claim is going to be true 63% of the time, but I don't see a problem with using mathematics for like in place. I mean, with empirical knowledge. Sorry, not in place, with empirical knowledge.
What about synthetic a prioris?
I really don't see the difference between analytic and synthetic knowledge.
Oof.
Yeah. I just haven't heard a convincing argument differentiating the two. So.
Okay. I won't say much more on it then.
So wheels and axioms. So do you guys think atheists have a moral grounding, or what's your opinion on that?
I got to be honest. I'm not super interested in the moral conversation. I'm just listening, just to listen to the way people construct arguments and stuff. I think morality is just a made up thing.
Okay, yeah, just like me.
Yep.
Axiom,
Do you think that there are any odds, Wheels?
I'm a subjectivist. I believe all morality is subjective.
Wait, so are you a cognitivist, Alex, or?
I don't know what that is.
Like, do you believe that moral statements or moral propositions can be true theft?
I don't think morals are. I think it's very subjective. It really depends on the moral system. It depends on the individual's preferences and how that individual wishes to interact with society.
So you don't believe that, like a moral statement can either be true or false?
It really depends on the moral statement.
Okay. Okay, cool.
Wheels.
Now, I believe that you can get an objective grounding from a subjective point of view, but it's still subjective.
Okay, wait. What do you mean by subjective? And like, how do we discern between objective and a subjective view?
Yeah, I'm sorry, bust in for 1 second. I'm sorry, Albedo, I got to bust out, but I'll love to chat about that another time.
Okay.
See you, man.
Later, man.
What was your question again, Owens?
Okay, it sounds like you think there's like an objective view and a subjective view to how we can know things. Is that true?
So when it comes to morality, I believe all morality, period, end of story, is subjective. However, there are moral outlooks on very specific things, like killing an innocent person who didn't do anything to you for the pleasure of it is objectively immoral. You get a subject, you have a subjective point of view, but you subscribe to an objective value out of that very specific connotation. You get what I'm saying?
Okay, so it sounds like you don't believe that there are moral facts, but you can subscribe to like a moral theory that says like this is true or false.
I don't believe morals are like a thing. I think they're just a way our brains kind of interact with other people. Like we need a idea of good/bad and, gray, good, bad, and gray. And we need to get along with each other. So we developed morals in order to get along with each other and punish those who break whatever law that there is.
Okay, that doesn't really make much sense since you just said earlier that you believe that someone can like subscribe to a morality that says murder is objectively false. But yet, when I said that, I brought that up and you said no. Actually, someone can't say like something is true or false because morality just doesn't exist.
Yeah, morality does not exist outside of the human mind.
Okay, so are you an idealist or like?
No, I'm a Satanist.
Okay, what does Satan believe? What's Satan's metaphysics?
I follow Satanism.
Okay, what's Satanist metaphysics?
Basically, material world. Everything that we see is physical in of itself.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So you're talking about how we can. Okay, just to clarify, you do believe that murdering babies is wrong?
It depends on the subjective. Is the baby going to end the world, and do we know this for certain?
Wait. Just to clarify, do you or do you not believe that we can have true moral statements?
Again, it's really subjective.
Okay, so no.
It depends on the claim.
Okay, wait,
really
but we can believe like it can be true, but like your belief doesn't like actually mean it's true or false. That's what you're saying, right?
My belief is I don't really care as long as it doesn't infringe on my person and or my community. I don't really care. I'm a big live and let live kind of person.
Is that just like an emotional preference, or is that like a moral duty? That you said, yeah, that shouldn't infringe on my autonomy or my preferences.
Yeah, it's as long as you don't infringe on me.
Wait. Yeah, what?
I'm sorry.
Is that like a moral duty, or is that just your preference?
Well, if you do unto me, expect me to do unto you.
You keep dodging the question. It sounds like you're
answering the question.
Wait. Yes or no? Like, is murdering babies objectively true no matter what, no matter the subject?
I cannot answer that question because it really depends on.
Okay, so you don't believe moral facts are true. You don't believe that moral facts. You don't believe that we can have moral facts.
You would need to get more clarification. An innocent child, an innocent baby, fresh out the womb, fully birthed, all that other stuff that isn't going to end the world, of existence. That the full 9 yards, stereotypical. Yeah, sure. Murdering a baby for pleasure is not morally okay.
Okay, so it is objectively true that murdering babies is not okay, and people should not do it.
You're missing the point. It's very subjective. It depends on what baby we are murdering. It depends on if the baby is going to grow up.
Wait. Okay. What do you mean by Okay, when you say subjective, it sounds like you're alluding to a subject who has like a unique and personal outlook on how the world should be, on like how people should act and what we should do. So this just sounds like, oh yeah, morality is relative to the person. But yet you say, yeah, it's like if we have more information, yeah, we shouldn't murder a baby because it's wrong. But that is contradictory with your statement. Okay, but wait, who said that?
I did.
Okay, just because it's legal doesn't mean it's moral.
I know, but I'm just saying murder is a legal term. So if we are committing murder, it's already something being done outside the law, which is something that society has already passed some kind of judgment about.
It seems like it's going to be a definitional thing. Murder seems like it's already defined as unjustified.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like you don't know your position, Alex. No offense, but
I do know my position. You're just not asking me.
Wait. It's murdering babies wrong.
Are we talking about the legal definition, or are we talking about the killing of an individual?
Okay, murdering as you're ending a life, not a legal definition.
Just say kill them. It'll make it easier.
Yeah, okay. Killing a baby.
I need a little bit more information. Will this baby bring the end of...
Why does it matter if you need more information? It's either true or false.
Because it's very subjective. Would you kill a baby if you knew it was going to end the world?
Wait, Albedo.
This is where I deny categorical stuff. Because
wait, Albedo, you know where I'm coming from.
Yeah,
Albedo. Yeah, okay.
Is it morally acceptable to kill baby Thanos?
Wait, yeah, answer that, Alex. If so, that would presuppose an objective morality.
Let's say baby Thanos existed. Yeah, it'd be morally okay to kill baby Thanos.
It's a fact?
I mean, that's just kind of like how it is. If
okay,
I can,
so it's a fact. It's a fact. You can say it's a fact.
It's more or less like, hey, I'm trying to stop.
It's objectively true. You can say it's objectively
true. It's very subjectively true, yes.
It's very subjective. Bro, how can something be subjectively true? I can have a different opinion on it. So like, let's just say you have opinion on Ets, but I don't agree with Ets. But like, you think Ets is fact and I don't. Okay, how can that lead in an objective consensus?
So you don't think murdering baby Thanos or killing baby Thanos is perfectly fine?
It doesn't matter what I think, like, because I believe moral facts are independent of us. But obviously, it sounds like you don't believe that moral facts are independent of us, or that moral facts exist.
No,
okay,
moral facts do not exist. I believe that they're derived from the brain.
What?
The brain, the piece of flesh inside of your skull.
Morality, like beauty, can't exist independent of a mind.
Exactly. Thank you, Clock.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, never
Without
mind.
your brain, morality.
I don't feel like this is going anywhere. You just lack knowledge on
That's very insulting.
I mean, you kind of do, man.
Don't insult me.
Sorry, wait. You called yourself a subjectivist.
Do not insult me.
Oh, my bad. Do you know what an actual subjectivist is in like a meta-ethical sense?
Well, you're the expert, so you tell me.
Okay, so a subjectivist believes, we can, like, there are moral statements and they can be true that, but we can say something is true if it, like, something like a moral statement is true if it corresponds to a mental state. Does that describe your position?
More or less.
Okay, but that doesn't tell us if like a moral fact is true or not, because it doesn't present a criterion of saying, yeah, this moral fact is true because, or no, this moral fact isn't true.
Why does it matter?
Because the subjectivist believes that morality is true and that moral statements can be truth that. And by saying you don't have a criterion,
subjectively true, that doesn't have anything to do with objective facts.
Okay, how can something be subjectively true?
Are you familiar with the aspect of beauty?
No.
Okay. So beauty is dependent on fuck. Let me try that again. Beauty is a personal preference, correct?
Yeah.
There's no such thing as objective beauty, correct?
Yeah.
So we have a subjective view of beauty.
Okay.
Could we not have the same for morality?
No, because we can say moral statements are true or false. The same way we can say, the same way we can say descriptive statements are true or false.
How do you demonstrate the truth?
Wait, Alex, are you living?
I believe I'm alive.
Okay, so we have justified belief for saying you're alive, so it's true that you're alive.
Yes, there is objective facts, as in the world exists.
Okay, the same thing we can say about morality. We can say
no, because morality stems from the brain. Brain is subjective. I can easily prove this with a book. Do you have any sources to prove your point?
I mean, same thing about descriptive facts. Okay, do you not believe that descriptive facts? Wait. Before I answer that, I just want to lay out references. Look, Brady, I don't believe. Okay, so we can say X is true. Okay, but an X leads us to believe in Y, and Y tells us what to do. Then and X is still true. Then we can say Y is true as well. So this means that we can have moral justification.
I'm still waiting for scientific peer review.
Wait, what do you mean? Like, you want epistemology?
I would like to see some studies.
Okay, wait, I deny empiricism.
Well, if you're not going to use that, I'm going to shut you down and straight up say, put up or shut up.
Hey, guys, guys. Hey, I'm going to end it. I'm going to end the stage. If you guys want to continue, go to VC, all right?
All right, man.
No.
All right, guys. Hey, Albedo, by the way, if you ever want to do a stage, man, let me know and I'll set it up for you, because I think, we had an interesting conversation, so.
Well, I mean, I'm not really keen on like doing that, but if you start one, just ping me, and if I can come, I'll come.
Okay, no problem. Hey, what do you think about doing it on like is knowledge true, or like I was thinking about like, is knowledge true or opinion? Like, what do you think about that? Like something like that.
Like in like epistemic nihilism, like we can't have knowledge.
Right.
I mean, we can do it, but there's not like a whole lot of people that believe that.
Oh, okay. All right. Anyway, guys, I'll see you later. All right.
All right, man.
Well, have a wonderful night.